Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be doing a reading on reconciliation. So this can be a love connection, a friendship, a family member, any dynamic that it may be. And there could be some disconnection at the moment that you're feeling. You may have fallen out with them. There may be no communication. So between the three piles, if you can just see which one that you are most drawn to, if you can take a deep breath, drop down into your heart center and see which reading you are most connected to. So this is group 1, 2 or 3. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your reading. Okay, and welcome all those that picked group number 1 of how this person currently feels and thinks about you. So in the past, here we can see with the 6 of voices that there was potentially some harsh words spoken which has created this distance, and either yourself or them or both of you felt it was necessary to create some space and to move on, but this was with a feeling of sadness. The connection is, however, still definitely here. You can see with the woman and this other figure there that they are still in contact, maybe not verbally or physically, but in the psychic realm, that there still very much is the connection remains. There may be some feelings of regret on one half of this union, this connection. Someone, I get the sense, feels rejected and rebuffed. Moving on to the present here, we've got the 8 of voices, so still in keeping with this suit, which is generally one of the more harsher suits in the deck, and this can often represent feelings of anxiety, worry. We can see here that someone feels bound, that their hands are tied, so they're feeling stuck, not sure in what to do next, not even sure how to reach out. There's some tension in the mind and in the thoughts. They're also blindfolded. So this indicates that the answers, they do need to look within rather than looking outwards. But at the minute, there's just this sense of confusion and really consumed by too many thoughts, and with the anxiety that comes with that. So moving on to your person's current situation, we've got the Star, which is a much more hopeful and positive card. This is, I believe, that their hope and their wish for things to improve with this situation. So they're very much still invested in wanting a positive outcome with this, a reconnection with yourself. They are hoping. There's a strong sense of hope in this card and vision. This person here is looking ahead, and they've also got their palms closed with something that is treasured and that is held precious to them, close to their heart. And we can see here also a lot of emotion. So depending on how obviously you feel about the situation, but this would definitely indicate that they really do want to reconcile and work this out still. So how they see you, we have the Queen of Emotions, which in the traditional deck relates to the Queen of Cups. So they would see you as someone who makes them feel a lot, and perhaps that you are someone who feels deeply, who is emotional as a person. With that, there's a lot of richness in the emotional life of yourself, and that you in turn bring that to this person. Queen of Emotions sometimes can be that they would see you maybe of having too much emotion, erratic, maybe you can have a tendency to go off the deep end, or just quite extreme in that way, the good and the bad of both that sides. But the main sense that I get from it is that what you bring to the table is you bring up a lot of emotion in them, and perhaps that's just a way that you operate in life as well. You are passionate, you feel strongly about things, and that's what they admire, and that's what they even, you know, love about you, if you feel that that resonates for you with this union connection. So moving on now to how do they feel about reconnecting. Obviously you can see from kind of this card here, that was initially a strong indication that it would be a yes, that they want to get in touch again and contact. The Fool here is about taking a risk, so they may be scared. It may be straightforward as that, scared to take this risk, are scared of looking foolish. So maybe they have done something, made a mistake, and they're having regrets about that. This of course could, you know, these roles can reverse, so this may be resonate for you. But there's a sense of wanting to take a risk, but a reticence within that at the moment, as well as that they do not want to appear foolish. There's a sense that maybe they are moving towards that, though. They are working through that and moving forward to actually taking that leap of faith and getting to that point where, you know, they almost don't care of how they look anymore. They're just going to reach out and kind of see where the chips fall after that. So now moving on to what can you do to help the situation. We have the 5 of Materials here. So with this card, there's a big sense of loss, of feeling alone, in a place of deprivation, even of feeling like oneself doesn't have anything, has nothing. And this really is a time to reflect on, did this person prior to this distance, were they meeting your needs? Are they capable of fulfilling your needs? Because from these cards we can see that they are wanting to reach out to you, but just because someone wants to and will reach out to you doesn't necessarily mean that you have to let them back into your life. Or of course the disconnect between you to this feeling, it's really impacted you, I suppose, and it's a time to reflect though on other areas of your life as well. Is there too much pressure on this person? You know, we can't get all our needs met just from one person. Of course it goes much deeper than that, and you need to look at other ways that you can be fulfilled. So that's what this card brings up to me, is about needs being met. Is someone capable of fulfilling your needs, or is it more, or as well as, about putting too much pressure on this connection for all of your needs to be met? That could come from this person or from yours, but there's that sense that it needs to be opened up, and looking at other areas of one's life to see if there's a depletion from there. And no one can expect just from one person for all the needs to be met from that. Moving on now to the final outcome regarding a reconciliation. the Hanged Muse. So this is really being in a state of suspension, of feeling stuck. So I would say at least initially in the near future that there isn't going to be, you're going to be stuck in this status quo of someone is watching, monitoring the other, gathering information, maybe you're even watching each other, but no one is reaching out or stepping forward. That's obviously personal choice of if you wanted to do that, or if you feel like it does need to come from the other person. It would suggest it will, but maybe further down the line, so you might want to wait that out. But for now at least, there is that feeling of feeling stuck, and maybe in connection to the last card, to use this time in this quiet, in this silence, this space, to reflect and contemplate and really ask yourself, is it the right thing to let this person back into my life, or what needs to change? So even though it can often feel like a frustrating and stuck time, that space, you know, can be very useful and necessary, and an active time internally. So nothing externally appears to be moving or changing, but that doesn't mean that internally massive steps can't be made. Welcome all to those that pick group number 2. So looking at the first card here, this represents the past of between you and this other person. And we have the Tower here, which is a really quite dramatic card that represents the breaking down of a situation. So it can often speak of some shocking news, or someone behaving in a way that was shocking, unexpected, out of character, or potentially said some really harsh words, or both of those things. Something that anyway has a sudden event that really broke down this relationship. So someone breaking something off quickly and not really there being any notice about this, and it coming out of the blue. Or if it's not a romantic relationship, someone suddenly just cutting contact. So an event or something like that that really has just caused quite a bit of damage actually to this relationship. Moving on to the present. So this is really the calm after the drama here, and this is a time of really of rest, of time out, which assuming if you guys aren't really in contact at the moment, so it represents that time out. There are still 2 people in this card, which suggests that, you know, there is, if you're not speaking or in physical contact, there is that connection that's still there, that can be on the psychic realm, that you're still in touch with one another, on and in tune with one another's emotions and feelings. Even you may get a sense of how they feel, but there's a lot of someone in particular, it may be yourself or it may be them, that is their mind is elsewhere. Someone is dominant in this relationship. I also get that sense that someone is feeling not as important, diminished somehow, and the balance in the relationship has gone out of whack. It's out of balance. So that's just a representation of now, and really also that to an indication this card's always of use this time for rest if possible. Just kind of take a breath in this time out. So looking at how your person, their current situation, the Knight of Emotions. So there's some emotional immaturity that this card often speaks of, too much emotion, acting before you think, not really thinking things through, and just wanting to charge ahead, run away from a situation, or run into the next situation, you know, just to keep going really, and get away maybe from a mistake that they may have made, but they're really not in a place at the moment to really think things through. They're not really prepared to do that. They just want to, they're struggling to be in a place to listen. So this may not be the time to reach out or try and sit them down to have that conversation, because they just don't seem in an emotional place to be still and to hear. They just want to charge forward and just kind of keep moving, keep going, and don't want to think about what they've done or mistakes that they may have made. So how they see you is the Ace of Inspiration. So this card really is about new beginnings, new ideas, a spark of creativity. And in this spread, in this relation, what that means to me really is that they feel or are insecure about that you've moved on, that you want a new beginning, that potentially maybe this has been issues in the past, that they feel like that you are wanting to move on, and really have maybe outgrown them even. But this card is all about new beginnings, and that's how they're seeing you at the minute, that you're wanting a new beginning, that you're wanting change, and that's not really connecting to where they're at least, and in a way that you're turned away from them in some ways, even if it wasn't you who made the mistake or cut them off or ended this. They are seeing you at the minute not interested, somewhere inside of you that you've kind of turned away from them. Maybe you're disappointed in them and you are thinking about new things, new horizons, and that's kind of really put them into a tailspin. How do they feel about reconnecting, reconciliation, if it's a love romantic relationship, is the Hermit. So this is really about having some more time alone. So that's a strong indicator that you or them or both of you, the timing feels off, that there's something that needs to happen still in this separation. So with the Hermit, this is about self-reflection, it's about meditation, contemplation, taking time out really from your normal routine, maybe not connecting, reaching out to your normal social circle as you were, but really just having some alone time and doing some inner work to find those answers. So that's what's needed, and it would also indicate that this person, again, as like I said, they're not in a place to listen, so maybe they're also not in a place to reconcile at the moment, and it's necessary for them and you maybe to have some further time alone for some further insight. So what can you do to help the situation? We've got the Nine of Voices here, which is sleepless nights, anxiety, overthinking. And I think this card really is asking you to kind of try and step away from that train of thought that you may find yourself falling into. It's so easy to say, so difficult to do at times, to try and stop those negative thoughts that build on each other and go into worst case scenario, and whatever that may be for you. Really, it's about trying to manage those feelings and those thoughts, whatever way that you through exercise, through meditation, through talking to loved ones who have your best interest at heart, all of the above, whatever those tools may be. try and reach out and use those and kind of get on top of those never-ending sort of spiraling thoughts that can often happen to people in these situations. The final outcome, so we've got the 5 of inspiration, which suggests that there will be further communication. Definitely the inspiration card is about action, movement, communication as well. So that would say in the near future that there will be some communication. With this card can come some misunderstandings, miscommunications and arguments even, really, that this card can sometimes represent. So kind of conflicting opinions, I would say, maybe conflicting ideas of actually what went on in the past, you know, that this is my perspective and the other person will have potentially a different perspective completely. There isn't going to be really harsh words, so this card is often like not deep wounds are made in this time, but that kind of just argy-bargy kind of disagreement here of maybe getting back into a place of for you to communicate. There's just going to be that re-entry back into communication is going to be a bit up and down. And I suppose really working out and having those difficult conversations in order to get close again and to reconnect. But the re-entry is going to be a bit of a bumpy road, but will ultimately, I think, lead to clearing the way and getting communication back up and running. Okay, welcome to all those that chose group number 3. So the first card that we're going to look at is the past of this union, this relationship, and we've got the Page of Voices. And this card can often represent some harsh words being spoken, someone really coming from a place of their head rather than their heart. A little bit as well with the page, there's some kind of immaturity with this deck and with these cards. There's kind of maybe some partying going on someone's on one side of this union, or just an immaturity on some level, and someone maybe speaking without thinking, lashing out and kind of taking their feelings out on another person and really, I suppose, pushing someone away. I would say that's what comes from this card. Someone really putting on that cold face and not really expressing how they feel, and kind of shying away from that, maybe because of fear. Which leads us on to the current situation, which is the moon. So this is a major arcana which can indicate a powerful time. The moon, though, is about, can often indicate worries, insecurities coming to the surface, secrets, hidden emotions, hidden feelings. Again, in relation even to this card, not being honest with yourself and not being honest with the other person. So definitely a sense of something being hidden, feelings, actions, and the only way to really go beyond this and deeper than this is to trust your intuition. Your intuition knows if something is off in someone's behaviour. So you may be or they may be experiencing a lot of doubt, but something feels off, which has brought on whatever issues that you may be happening and sensing. So now you're in a time of confusion, potentially both of you, but this may relate to you. Time of confusion, and the only way through that confusion, like I say, is really trusting your gut, following that intuition that we all have inside of us. So what's going on with your person currently? We've got an awakening. So this is a really positive card. this suggests some growth on their side. So if that does resonate, that kind of immaturity that's come from them, it would suggest that through whatever has gone on, this space that you're having potentially between the two of you is causing an awakening, kind of like a, oh God, you know, maybe they feel like they've lost you, if that's situational, they're feeling the distance, and this is really, it has woke and is awakening something within them because they don't want to lose you, and that's what I'm sensing. And maybe they're having a bit of an aha moment about their behaviours, and how that's really impacted the situation in a negative way. So really the fact that this is going on is really positive for you. How they see you, so moving on to, we've got the 7 of materials here. And really what I get from this card is that they see you, maybe this is like your personality always within this relationship, but just really getting on with your life still, not letting, this maybe not how you're feeling inside, but at least externally and how they view you, really of just kind of getting on with your life regardless of what's going on with them, and knowing and contemplating options that you have. So maybe you're really kind of taking this time to assess what's your next move. This card can often be about planning, so looking at what's gone on and where you're wanting to move to next. So maybe you're really having to decide if you still want this person in your life, or what changes need to be made, or if they still are in your life. It's really kind of, again, just looking at changes that would be needed to be made in the relationship. There's quite a kind of, this is, you know, it's a down-to-earth energy in this card. You are rooted and grounded, and you haven't got your head in the clouds about this situation. So that's also positive. That may kind of intimidate this person a little bit though, the fact that you've kind of really got it together, and maybe they haven't quite so much. How do they feel about reconnecting to you? We've got the 6 of inspiration, so this is a card of victory actually. So I think that they certainly see in their mind you reconnecting or reconciling. Maybe there's a slight arrogance or too much certainty within this. This card can often indicate that at times, that maybe they just expect that you, you know, of course you'll start talking again. Of course you'll move on and you'll be fine, and that's something that doesn't really obviously sit right with you. On the other hand, you know, this is a card of positivity, of success, and it does suggest movement and moving forward. And, you know, reconciling it may be the positive thing that this card often speaks of, and would be classed as a victory. But that's certainly how this person sees it going. You may not feel quite so certain, but they have no doubt in many ways that this will happen. It has to happen. That's the way it's going to go. What can you do to help the situation? We've got the Ace of Voices, which is really about communication, clearly communicating how you feel about the situation, about what's gone on, about maybe what needs to change. But with the confusion of the present, this card is very much the opposite of that. This card is a card of clarity. So use this time to find out what clarity that is for you, so that when the time comes for you to speak your truth, that you can communicate it in a clear, concise way. So that's really going to hit home to them. So you're very clear in your mind about what's gone on, and maybe changes that need to to be made as well. So kind of get all your ducks in a row with regards to your thoughts and how you're going to say that to this person. Even write it down if you would find that helpful. You could even communicate that to them in writing if you would find that easier to get, you know, your points across in a really clear way. Or at least just as a tool that can be helpful for when the time comes to when you are actually speaking to them, or the time comes when you want to say those things, you know exactly the points that you want to get across. So that's really the energy that's coming from this card. The outcome of the situation, so we've got the Page of Inspiration. So this is a positive card. This is creativity, new ideas, passion. So if it is a romantic relationship, this would indicate a passionate reconciliation. Explosive even, I feel like there's an explosive energy in this dynamic. You know, even if it isn't romantic, there's a lot of potential within this relationship. So maybe it brings out a certain side of you both. There's a creativity, maybe you can share ideas. So that it's a really positive outcome actually, and the Page of Inspiration is about moving forward and moving on to new things. So I would say in the near future, that's what I see, that there is some maturing and some growing definitely to do. This feels quite fresh and young. It may be a new direction that you find yourselves going in if you've known this person for a while, but maybe experimenting with new ideas and new things to do with each other on a very practical level. Maybe think of new and creative and different things that to break the routine. It's quite an exciting time though, this as well, so I think when you do come back together, it's going to be a fun time and it's going to be an interesting time for you both.